Hey everyone, welcome in. Ryan Noonan here, Betsperts Golf, here for our first look, the 2026 Cognizant Classic PGA National. For starters, guys, this is not your slightly older brother's Honda Classic, PGA National. It is very different than it's been historically. We'll get into that in a minute. We are pivoting from the West Coast swing that is behind us. We are shifting to Florida, which is a pretty big shift. You'll obviously see some different players that are just grew up playing on Bermuda, and it's just a completely different test, especially some of the California stuff we've seen as of late. So you'll see some players, the better players, carry over really good form, obviously, and then you're going to see some more specialists, maybe some guys that maybe disappointed, maybe would have been on your radar in California or on the West Coast. Now we get back into the agronomy setup that they grew up on or are very comfortable on, and it really does matter. But that is actually part of the handicap here as well, which I think is interesting and we'll get into. So kudos to Jacob Bridgman for, it wasn't wire to wire, but definitely on the weekend, pulling away and getting it done yesterday, getting his first win in a strong field, an event that everyone really wants to win. It's a big one for a lot of the guys on tour. So big win for Bridgman. Shout out to anyone that had Bridgman numbers. Personally, like the struggles that we saw from him on Sunday at Pebble made that a really hard click for me to even really explore. But good for him to be able to, close that and hold on and got it done. So, all right, PGA National Cognizant Classic. A few things have really shifted here. So this was always, it had an identity. It kicked off the Florida swing. It was routinely a very difficult test. Par 70, the wind can be a problem. There's a ton of water. You'd get some of this would be like the start of the Euros. A lot of these, Europeans that play in the PGA Tour call like Palm Beach Gardens in this area home on the US side of things. You start to get a pretty decent field. And it'd be a really strong test coming into like Bay Hill and the players. And it really had an identity on the tour and really what it was testing. Now, it's shifted. A few things have shifted kind of at the same time. We had a massive reno, mostly to the course or, to the clubhouse and stuff, but the course as well. We went from typical Florida, dormant Bermuda in late February, early March, to a more aesthetically pleasing on TV ryegrass overseed. Looks greener. That was especially playing itself out around the green. If you're not native to the Southeast or to Bermuda, I play Bermuda once a year, and I struggle. I struggle around the green, struggle on the green complexes. I'm here in the Northeast. I grew up in New England, so bent grass is just something I'm a little bit more familiar with and comfortable on. Bermuda, especially dormant, burnt, unpredictable Bermuda around the greens, it's a different test. And that's what you would typically see reflected in how golfers would play here. It's shifted now. So this ryegrass overseed is, especially on shorter grass, a lot more predictable for these guys. It's also in the fairways now as well. So agronomy, pretty massive shift. Still Bermuda grass greens, but some of the other challenges, tee to green, are significantly less difficult. It's just no other way to put it. And then add to the mix, you took a very challenging par 4, the 10th hole, and made it a very scoreable par 5. So we've changed from a par 70 layout, it was challenging, to a par 71 that is significantly softer, significantly more receptive, from the fairways, and it's changed the dynamic of the course. And there's been a pretty dramatic shift. Now, last year was even more exaggerated because we did get a lot of rain coming into the event last year. So you saw some pretty significant scores. Jake Knapp was, hunting for like a 58, 57 at times here last year before he posted a 59 in round one. So that's changed the dynamic here quite a bit in terms of the scoring. And actually, Ron notes it in his preview here. Let me show it to you if you're not watching. Check this out. Again, Betsperts Golf. If you're not a subscriber, BSG26. It'll pop on the homepage when you first pop up. BSG26 is good for 25% off any subscription for new subs. If you're not a new sub, maybe you let your subscription lapse, you're coming back in, let me know at Ryan Noonan on Twitter. You can also message us at Betsperts Golf. Also, YouTube every Monday here, 10 a.m. Eastern for the First Look show, 11 a.m. Eastern for our betting preview. You get dulcet tones of myself for both of those shows. We appreciate the support for the free content, doing our best to share the rabbit hole and help people navigate it, because I know it's a different resource, and whether you're coming over from Fantasy National or from a different stat provider, it's new, right? So we try to do a lot to share screens and make it easy for you. For subscribers, take advantage of the Discord. Our staff puts some of the official plays that we're playing in there as well. There's also a great community. Community shares their slips. A lot of smart people betting, different tours, TGL, anything you want to sweat live, picking off bad prices in books. We've had a lot of that recently, which is great. And again, the community is just out there grinding, finding that stuff too. So great resource. Talking showdown, one and done, all that in our Discord. Definitely check it out. But yeah, Ron lays out some of this. This is a stat that I think is really kind of wild here. Prior to 2024, so again, renovation, change for the 10th hole. Average winning score here was 10 under. You typically have a cut of over par. Last year, I believe it was 4 or 5 under par. So significantly different. And you saw the winning score jump to the 18, 19 under range. Played last year is the easiest it played in its course history. 38 golfers shot 10 under or better last year. 38. From 06 to 2023, 11 total shot 10 or better. Think about that. You had a 17-year stretch where 11 golfers shot 10 under or better at PGA National. Last year alone, 38 did. So these are massively significant impacts to how the course is played historically. So if you are leaning on long-term leaderboards, course history, just how the course is played, if you're just kind of looking at fundamental modeling, high-level views of PGA National, and you are looking at difficult scoring conditions and trying to pick a winner, it's off base. And it'd be a mistake. So kind of crazy that this is where we're at. It's a bummer because, again, I like that PGA National had an identity, and the overseed has been dramatic in the entirety of how the course is played. And then you add to it shifting a very difficult par 4 into a very scoreable par 5. So that alone obviously shifts average score. You say 3.5 strokes because it's a pretty easy par 5. That alone is going to shift the average score, roughly 3 strokes. And then you add to it with the overseed change. So dramatic. And let me show you some of those details here in our course stats page. So this is, again, you're starting the week, high level. Where do I start? Going straight to the rabbit hole. Tough. What do I want to put in there? What inputs do I want to look at? What filters do I want to look at? Start here. Start on the course stats page. It's going to default to the course that we're at, but you can obviously use this drop down. If you're just curious and you're looking to kick around and do some different stuff on other courses, you can obviously search all those here as well. You can see par 71, 72 and change from the tips. Another thing, we've shifted some of the longer par 3s. We moved those tee boxes up for some reason. So it looks better on TV. The scoring's better. I'm not quite sure what we've done here. It stinks. It's a bummer. But here we are. Obviously, Florida golf course. This is originally was a Tom and George Fazio design. Jack Nicklaus did so much from a renovation standpoint. It's essentially a Nicklaus course at this point. And then obviously we have the Bear Trap, the 3-hole stretch 15, 16, 17, which is named obviously after the Golden Bear himself, Jack Nicklaus. There's another very difficult 3-hole stretch. Now there's still some challenges here, right? 5, 6, 7 on the front has historically played the last decade or so is difficult, if not more difficult at times than the Bear Trap. So, because there's still so much water on the course. So wayward, tee shots, I think, let's say it's 10 or 11 tee shots have water very much in play. So water balls are still a thing. You still have some blow up numbers, but just if you're kind of piping it tee to green, you're going to get in scoreable. You're going to get more scoreable opportunities than you would have historically here. So you can see Bermuda grass greens, ryegrass fairways, ryegrass rough. Again, this is the new piece here. We're talking about less than driver off the tee for the most part. Again, you're seeing driver usage kind of tick up a little bit. I'll show you that here in a moment. But again, some of the forced layups because of water and different things, overall driver usage less than a standard PGA Tour event. Still difficult to gain off the tee, again, partially because there are so many water opportunities. Then everything else has gone from basically average to hard to average to easy, which is a bummer. You can see greens and rag, easy. Around the green, scrambling, all this stuff, easy. Again, there's a trickle-down effect. You'll see because of the ryegrass overseed on the rough and the fairways, you see more predictable shots on second, flight on second shots. You have a higher proximity to the hole. And then because the nature of chipping is easier, your proximity around the green is easier. So your putting ranges are improving. Your overall, first one putt percentages are improving. Everything's gotten a little bit easier. So it's not just a singular thing. It's like just a slow drip of easier golf because of the ryegrass overseed. And you can see here, the par threes used to be one of, if not the most difficult set of par threes on tour, non-major. And now they're average because we moved tee boxes up quite a bit. So it is what it is. It's a bummer. You can even see here. So a list of our correlated courses, which you can check on. Again, a lot of Florida golf, a lot of Bermuda golf, some positional like a walleye. Sometimes can be a little bit more positional, finding the fairway off the tee, putting yourself in a good spot from an angle standpoint matters. When you go into what the PGA Tour is going to tell you from a corollary course standpoint, Bay Hill's the first thing that they list. Innisbrook, other fairly difficult Florida courses with a lot of water. And that's not really the case anymore with, we still have Innisbrook here, but we pulled Bay Hill because it's just not as difficult of a test as it has been. So leaving Bay Hill and looking at guys who have played well at Bay Hill would be useful in the sense of like Florida golf and, like Bermuda putting. But it's significantly less of a correlated course than it has ever been historically. So note that. And you can see here's the 10th hole in particular. Again, if this was a par 4, it'd be tough, right? Your guys would play a little different, to be fair, but it was always an above par hole. But now you're really losing the field. 60% birdie rate, which is just kind of wild. More eagle opportunities here. So again, pretty massive shift. Here's where we get to some of the course metrics specifically that can feed things that you want to look at in the rabbit hole and things that we're pulling from the top section that we were just looking at. So you can see average driving distance is on the way up. A couple of years ago, you were looking at, mid 270s, which is pretty significant slightly below a PGA Tour average stop. But last year, again, continued to increase up to 280, 284, almost 285 last year. We talked about less than driver off the tee, but even that's kind of going away. It's making me want to pause and go back into the model that I built because I did use some ball striking less than driver. Because look, that's definitely what we had here historically. And the prevailing winds are still a piece of this too, right? So if the winds can kick up, there's some, it's not necessarily a short golf course in the sense that some of these par fours can be playing directly into the wind, and some of the par fives can have a pretty massive crosswind. So, I mean, look at this though. 43.5% driver usage in 2022. Last year we were at 62.5. It's not far off of a standard PGA Tour event. So still a little bit more less than driver than it used to be, but not quite as much, right? We're shifting pretty drastically. That's a couple-year jump of 20% driver usage. Not nothing. You can see the increase in drives that go 320 plus as well. Again, significantly different than the standard PGA Tour event. So I still think looking at less than driver matters, but we are trending differently. Accuracy, guys, you can see less nervous to find themselves in this ryegrass overseed. Spraying is still a problem. You don't want to be in the water, but you can see guys way less likely to be nervous to take on some of the ryegrass rough because they just know it's way more predictable. So, I mean, that's substantial to me. And I think really, really notable that, scoring is going one way and driving accuracy is going the other. Driver usage going the other way. That's signal to me. The guys are playing this course differently in the last 2 years. So even last year, 2024 was the first year post-reno. Guys that came back were like, no, I could be even more aggressive on some of these holes, and we saw it. Now, again, also last year, rain was a piece of it. So I think it's probably somewhere between the 24, 25 numbers in giving less greens to the, anything pre-24, if that makes sense. So that's some of the off the tee stuff. Approach you can see here too, right? Greens and reg, last 2 years, post-reno, north of 70%. Above a standard PGA Tour event. Now, again, if you want to make the case that rain was a big piece of 25, that's fair. But greens and reg rate was north of 70 and 24 as well. And again, far beyond where it had been here historically. So, and you could see, where is it? Rough proximity or greens and reg from the rough. Yeah, still, again, this is now way above PGA Tour averages and where it's been historically. So this is what I'm talking about. This dormant Bermuda rough, right around, slightly below 50% greens and reg from the rough, a full 10% jump with the ryegrass overseed. So, question in the chat, how does the overseed of that course play? Just across the board makes everything easier. And some of this too has happened with fields getting weaker, right? Excuse me, by myself. So occasional water sip, and occasional cough. I apologize. But yeah, this is coincided with a decrease in field strength because of the position of where it is in the schedule. We're coming off of last week, the last 2 weeks, back-to-back signature events. And we've had some shifting in the schedule this year with where Pebble Beach was and whatnot, but still a very natural bye week in the schedule for the best golfers in the world, guys who would typically come here. Pebble, everyone likes to go to Scottsdale, and then we would Scottsdale to Pebble signature event, right into Riv signature event. Now, next week, API signature event, and the Players, non-signature, but the fifth major, as we know. So for guys that played Scottsdale who wanted to come here, that's 6 in a row. That's you just don't see that very often, especially from the elites, right? You'll see some, Ben Griffins of the world and Sanjays historically, and some of the, guys that just come out and grind every week. It feels like Siwoo should be here. Siwoo's been playing, but Siwoo, played the MX and like, you know, walleye. So finally a week off. But it's just a very natural bye week. So we have improved scoring conditions and improved scoring results with weaker like leaderboards and field strength. So it's you know, sometimes we've seen that, and I've pushed back on that recently when we were looking at, like, for example, old Pebble data where we had very weaker fields, and now the Pebble data is looking at, you know, signature event fields. So this is the opposite here, and the scoring is going the other way. So hope that makes sense. Hope I'm laying that out for you. So that's the approach stuff. Let me take a look at some of the here's the around the green stuff too that I was talking about. So scrambling was typically 21, 22, mid 50s, low 50s. Last year we got up to 61%. So again, one of the pieces of this course, part of the teeth of this course, is now shifted, and it has been just easier than a standard event. Not even easier than it's been here historically. So tricky. You see around the green from the rough, and just everything. Short grass, scrambling from the short grass. I mean, scrambling the short grass last year, 65.3%. We were around 50% here for the majority of the last handful of years. Just absolutely massive and impactful. So that's the around the green stuff. It used to be a big piece of the puzzle here, but it matters less because we have fewer around the green shots because our greens and reg have spiked, and it is significantly less difficult to scramble because of the ryegrass overseed on the rough. So, and the fairways. So again, if you don't play Bermuda, it sometimes can be spongy. It looks like your lie's okay, and then you walk up to it and it's like it's kind of sitting up in a spot, and it's hard. It's just tricky if you don't have a lot of reps. And even if you have a lot of reps, it's a tricky test. So yeah, it's notable, and to see that those numbers are increasing speaks to the ryegrass overseed specifically. So let's look at the field and the odds. Courtesy of our friends over at Gambling. Ben Griffin decided to come. Good for Ben, chasing dubs. Again, coming off of, you know, a lot of starts in a row because of he's in all the Siggies. 14 and change, the best price for Ben Griffin. Jacob Bridgman still in the field, coming off of a win last week. Good for Bridgman. Makes sense. Like, you know, played well at Pebble, runs it over to Riv to get it done. And, you know, played well here last year. Might as well see if you can continue to strike while the iron's hot. Form is fickle. Lean into it. Good for Bridgman. Adam Scott here, which is not a place that he's come often. And, you know, old school Adam Scott would tell you that there's only a handful of events that matter. This would not be one of those on the Adam Scott list, but he's here now. 20 and change, coming off of a nice week at Riv. Shane Lowry, always here, always in the mix. Yet to seal the deal. 21 looks like our best number here. We have both Rasmus and Nikolai Højgaard in the mid-20s. Ryan Gerard seems to be, at least over the weekend chatter on the opening odds that we had here, looked like Ryan Gerard was going to be a fairly popular click here. Is a North Carolina guy, so not Florida, but Bermuda. Michael Thor Bjornsson, right around 30. Keith Mitchell, former winner here, a lot of success. Again, Sea Island Mafia, some of those guys are here. And while we're not, again, in the Carolinas also Bermuda grass. And again, still have it on the greens. So Bermuda putting. Brooks is in the fields. Daniel Berger, short number for Berger. But again, I still expect that to be a pretty popular click for people. Rasmus Nergård Peterson, short of 30. Davis Thompson, short of 30. Thorbjørn Olsen at 40. So you can see just from a talent, strength, standpoint, we fall off pretty drastically here. Aaron Rai in the mix last week. Seabez, shorter golf course. This could work for him. Zalatoris. Again, Zalatoris, I would love to have seen Zalatoris here in 21 or 22. It wasn't an event he came to, I don't think, often. But I like Zalatoris when the test is harder than when the test is is birdies. So, yeah, Zalatoris is in the field. Alex Smalley, Max Homa, Haotong Li all around 50, and then you get a bunch in the 50 range too. So this has been a place where we've had either kind of the top of the board or some bombs here. And this is again another ways to look at some of the stuff we looked at earlier in terms of some of the metrics and how they compare to standard PGA Tour events. Approach proximity ranges, we are kind of hovering in the mostly 150 to 200 range. You have a handful of the par threes that are in the 225 plus range. You can see here, let's look at last year's leaderboard. Joe Highsmith got hot and scored quite a bit. Hold on here. Me tech adjustment. Give me 30 seconds. And we're back. Sorry about that. Highsmith here. Yeah, I mean, kind of got it done across the board. You can see, I mean, he posted up a nice number on the weekend too. Yeah, but you can see there was not one singular metric. He putted very well. That's going to get it done. See most of the guys, again, when you get into these lower scoring situations where we've had the last few years, putting typically makes sense for guys to be able to separate there, which again, unique test to what we've seen here historically. Spawn was in the mix, little leading indicator of Spawn kind of clicking it together. Same thing for Ben Griffin, who was also in the mix here as well. I was on Henley, of course, who was positioned to take advantage and then just couldn't really get it done compared to where everyone else was in terms of round 4 scoring. You can see he fell off there, couldn't make a putt. Around the green he lost too, which is unusual. So yeah, same thing. Knapp, just an insane round 1. You can see what Jake Knapp did in round 1. 12 under par, gained almost 10 shots to the field. Just kind of did it everywhere. 2.5 on the greens, which is a lot. Russell Henley also 8 under par in the opening round and was significantly back, which is kind of crazy. So not a singular, easy, clean way to get it done there. So it's one of many. Let's see what else can we look at here. Let's look at our tournament cheat sheet. Again, this is another resource that we have. Again, kind of touched on this a little bit last week. Like, the rabbit hole is the main hub for data that allows you to look at anything, especially through different lenses or conditions and stuff like that. We do have a lot of other tools, including the core stats page we were just on. This is the tournament cheat sheet. If you're just looking kind of like high level, how have guys been playing, how have players been, playing recently, finish wise, and then any course history. Tournament cheat sheet is going to give you that all in one look. So you can mess around the time frame here. We just have, as you can see, all rounds last 6 months for the Cognizant field. You can see Nicolai Højgaard has our best recent form. There's Ben Griffin, Rasmus. There's Gerard, Adam Scott, Bezuidenhout, Thor Bjorn Olesen, Blades Brown. These guys all around a shot on average. Again, it's going to tell you, just kind of just rolling over the time frame. You can kind of look at some of the other metrics that they have and how they've been playing recently as well. Recent finishes. Again, not going to give you the events, but is just kind of giving you, hey, where's their recent form? And you can see Bridgman. It's been really good. He's been in the mix. Again, some of these are fall events, but he has just been, T20 or better in his last 5 starts. Really good stuff. You just want to see who's been playing good golf. Gerard, and people are going to be on him. Some of this is, from fall starts as well. Then, early starts here this season. Playing really good golf. So it's, again, another way for you to be able to look at stuff. You want to see who's played well here historically? You can go to course history. We can do that again. You can see here's Highsmith. And again, it's not been a place where course history has been super sticky. It's not something I'm relying heavily on. I'd rather look at, albeit Florida golf or Bermuda performance, But again, if you wanted to look at it, totally understand. You can see if you were relying heavy on it last year, it would have, I think, maybe let you down because Ben Griffin was coming off of a cut here. He finished T4. Joe Highsmith, first time coming here, missed the cut, and then wins last year, right? So if course history was a big part of your handicap for last year's Cognizant, it would have let you down. So I wouldn't make it a big part of your handicap this year. Again, tiebreaker, sure. You'd love to see a guy like, look at Shane Lowry, for instance, right? Like, he hasn't won, but he's very much put himself in position here the last few years. Again, you're paying for that on the odds board, but that's your thing. This would be a reason to do it. So see EVR, same thing, not great. He likes the softer conditions, T2, T9 for him. Same thing, Doug Gim. It wasn't great early. Doug Gim seems to like the overseed as well. So you can make a note of 24, 25 form in particular. But if you wanted to just see in general who's played well here, Billy Ho's played well here, Florida guy, Bermuda. He's been playing some pretty good golf. So this is a way for you to use and leverage this tool. Again, high level before you get into the rabbit hole. Can help tell you what to do when you kind of get in there. So before we kind of kick around here, show you some other stuff. I want to show you what's coming. You made it this far in the show, you get surprises. Hopefully, I'm recording this on Monday if you're listening later in the week. Hoping to get this up live for you pre-Thursday if you wanted to mess around with it. So again, not live on the site right now. This is just the back end. But few new views and metrics that I'm really excited about to show you guys. Go in the view section here. This will be under approach scoring. There's going to be some new stuff also in the par 3, par 4, par 5 efficiencies as well. But yeah, approach scoring metrics. So it is, as you see here, how guys are playing. So again, we've obviously had, proximity stuff here in the past, right? So we've had overall proximity, just fine. It's not great. You can find that anywhere. You can't, it's not telling you a full story, right? Like, is that a third shot on a par 5? Is that a scramble because you got yourself in the woods and then you had to kind of pitch out now? So the context of it matters, in my opinion, in terms of like aggressiveness, guys pin hunting, like what are they trying to do with that shot? So it's looking at it, knowing that through the lens of scoring situations. So giving yourself opportunities to score, birdie or better, eagle putts. We appreciate the feedback. Great, amazing insight. Thank you. The chat's always good to me. Appreciate you guys. So stoked to have this, guys, for you. Used it a little bit last week on the back end, and it led me to Johnny Vegas and Ryan Fox for DFS purposes. Shared that with our Discord. The Vegas player page, Vegas recent form wasn't great. Vegas giving himself a lot of scoring chances historically in the 150, 175, 175, 200 bucket. We're pretty high. Now, again, he can't putt, but he putted okay for a little bit at Riv. Same thing, Ryan Fox, supremely volatile player. Gives himself a lot of looks in those proximity ranges, and he had himself a great week, T10. I think he finished T7, got off to a really good start. And so using this, I think it's going to be a great DFS resource in particular. So say I back up a little bit. Let's just look, say last 12 months, we'll increase our sample. You're going to be able to see, the number of total shots and then scoring. Again, this is still not, it's not live for a reason. Still some color coding and testing to make sure that we're good to go. But scoring ranges here and how many opportunities guys give themselves. You can look at it from rank. I like to look at it from an average standpoint. So here's Keith Mitchell. He's given himself in the last calendar year, he's had 72 rounds played. He's given himself 166 looks here from the 50 to 100 bucket. and he's given himself a scoring opportunity inside 10 feet, 28.8% of the time. Let's put a minimum round feature here. Let's get some of the small sample stuff out for these guys. We'll say 16 rounds for the sake of whatever. And this week we have a lot of 150 plus. So let's look at 150 to 175. Small sample, 40 or 90 shots, I guess, 24 rounds for Johnny Kiefer. He's given himself a birdie look inside 15 feet, almost 30% of the time. He hasn't had many inside 5 feet, but he's had a lot inside 10 and 15, more than anyone else. Good to know. It pairs well with all of a sudden he's a strong Bermuda putter, for instance. That would probably be useful information for DFS lineups. Let's look at the guys that are throwing darts. Small sample again, Jordan Smith. 78 shots, 19 rounds. But you go down to Aaron Rai, Tom Kim, Gary Woodland. We know he can't make a putt, but man, let's give himself some looks, right? What if he does make a putt? These things I think are fairly useful. Let's look at the longer 175, 200 bucket scoring opportunities inside 15 feet. Last calendar year, Lee Hodges, Isaiah Salinda, Rico Hoey, all around 20%. We have both Højgaards here. We got Charlie Hoffman, Michael Thor Bjornsson. Okay, of interest. So again, you want to look at these things. It's going to be live hopefully on Tuesday or Wednesday. So sorry to tease you. This is, again, one way to look at it. And then also specifically, you can look at, we'll have our, you can look at any condition filter option as well. Par 3, par 4, par 5 efficiency metrics. You're going to be able to get strokes gains. So not proximity from these scoring ranges like you can find elsewhere or you've seen in the past. Strokes gained in those ranges too. So you want to see par 4s from 400 to 450. You're going to be able to get strokes gained in that range as well. So pretty excited for this to be live on the site and pretty excited for you guys to see this. So again, sorry for the tease. If you're looking for it live, wait for later in the week. We'll obviously announce that for members. You'll see, I'm sure Ron, PGA Splits 101, we'll tweet it out from our house account as well when it's live, but really excited to get that in your guys' hands. From a high level, if you are looking at this from the first time, again, you don't like to model, it's confusing, it's intimidating. Totally get it. Totally agree. You can go into the expert model section here and just find things that other people have already built. You can see other folks, other content providers in the space, people that we have on staff, other contributors, other people that use the rabbit hole for content and stuff like that. Really smart group of people here. So Wisdom of the Crowd, fantastic resource. Look at other people's models. If you're well equipped to mess around with things in Excel, there's a download CSV option here. You can splice together other people's models, all of it for you right here. If you want to build your own, you can add metrics from the rabbit hole. There's a little plus button. When you add all the metrics that you want, you can mess around with time frames, filters, whatever you want to do. Then you go to create model. Then you can go into the create model section, weigh it. Lots of different things that you can do. So really easy. From a high level standpoint this week, I want to look at some easier scoring conditions, right? This is just stinks. You just look at it the opposite way. But high level, if I were to start this week in terms of just kind of like baseline stats, filter by condition, these three I think are important and something that you could probably do something with every week. Now, not all of them, not all the time, but I think it's a really good fundamental way to look at things. So I'm not necessarily looking at field strength this week, but I think you could go, average week, very weak, where you basically want to pull out any performance the guys have done in strong fields, because maybe they didn't play well in strong fields. Maybe they, earn themselves in through an Aon swing next 10, Aon 5, whatever it is. And they didn't play well against Scottie and Rory and Tommy and whatever. Like, pull that out. It's not really relevant to the test, or the course itself played difficult. I want to pull that out. You can. You want to look at, you say we're on a short course, but if you wanted to look at just pulling out anything very long, you can. I'm not going to do anything course length wise this week because the winds, even though the forecast is pretty anemic right now, I don't think the winds are going to be a problem, which is, again, I think going to lead to low scoring. Some of these holes can play a little bit longer than the scorecard would indicate based off of the winds. So because wind can be so volatile, it's a Monday morning, I'm not going to play weatherman for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday on Monday. So even though course does technically count as a short golf course based off of length relative to par, I'm not going to do anything course length wise, but I do think scoring condition wise is a viable way. So unfortunately, I want to pull out anything that's difficult or very difficult. So let's look high level, who's played well when it has been either very easy, or average scoring conditions. If you want to look at that through Bermuda grass, you can look at just Bermuda in general. You can look at Florida golf in general. Those things would make sense. When you're in the filter by condition section, again, I apologize if you listen and hang out with us every week. First of all, I'm grateful for you. Second, I'm sorry. I'm always going to try to educate the new people. Don't click too many of these things at once. Don't go onto the course stats page. Come up here and look at all of these different things and go, okay, it is a Parkland course with ryegrass, fairways, and rough. It is a low miss fairway penalty, easy greens and regulation. And then I'm going to come into the rabbit hole and I'm going to click all those filters. No, you're going to way overfit the data. You're going to end up getting yourself in a position where you're simply just trying to build out the Cognizant Classic, right? So that's not the right way to do it. Do one or two things at once. Try to give yourself as many rounds that I think are relevant. Depending on, that's going to be a little bit tricky. This event in particular, because the fields are a little bit weaker. Guys have not been playing as much. You get some guys from the DP World Tour. You get some Korn Ferry grads. Sample size is going to be a little bit tricky here, but don't overfit it by putting too many different things at once. And you can see there's a lot of stuff, right? Like last week we had preferred lies. We had wet conditions. You can mess around with wind and cold and stuff like that. But just start from a high level. I want to look at pulling out anything difficult scoring condition wise. Hit apply. It is going to filter all of the data in the rabbit hole through that lens. So this is looking just now at the last 6 months. I'm getting around 30-ish for some of the top guys. I'm going to back it up a little bit. Let's just say the last calendar year. If you're worried about the sample being too large for some guys, you just want to say last calendar year. And then right now we're on all rounds. Say you want to look at the last 36 rounds or the last 50 rounds. You could do something like that here. So you can just see last 50 rounds for anyone that has 50. Who's played the best? Overall, easier scoring conditions. You can see some smaller samples for some guys. But Ben Griffin, Nicolai Højgaard, Rasmus Nørgaard Peterson, Mac Meisner, Ryan Gerard, those guys are all around a stroke on average over the last 50 rounds on easy scoring conditions. Thorbjørn Olsen, Patrick Rogers, S.H. Kim. Here's Lowry, Garrick Higo, Rasmus Højgaard Peterson, Echeverria, Thor Bridgman. So again, just high level, pulls out difficult scoring, and just kind of gives you an idea of what is the test for this week. You want to add, you would just want to look at this. Again, you would mess around with the sample size for sure. If you want to look at, say, just Florida golf, you can go into course region, just hit Florida, knock yourself out. Again, I think there is something to that, but from my vantage point, I think I'd rather look at Bermuda grass performance versus Florida, because Florida is going to include Sawgrass. It's going to include Innisbrook. It's going to include Bay Hill. All of those are significantly more difficult tests than PGA National, which again sucks to say. That they would fit very well with old PGA National. They do not fit with current PGA National. I want to again drive that point home for you today. If you want to look at coastal courses, we're not specifically coastal here, but again, we do get some obviously wins. There's definitely a Parkland element to it as well. That's here for you. Specific courses. And again, you wanted to look at just PGA National in general. You can also hit the load course, comp course right here. So just literally hit this button. It's going to load all the things that we classify as comp courses for PGA National. And you can just look at that. Let's do it. Let's look at who's played well. I still have these. I want to see what happens here. I still have these scoring conditions on because to me, it's going to pull out some of these easier ones, but let's just see what happens when, I think it did. Yeah. So you can see the sample so small. So let's pull these off. We'll look at just comp courses in general. Again, you see Zalatoris, not a place he's come very often. All rounds, last 12 months. Let's bounce this back a little bit. Let's go 3 years on comp courses. And yeah, not a great sample for some guys. Let's pull out the real small filters or real small minimum rounds. Lowry, Bezaden, who Haotong Lee just makes it under. Mac Meisner, Ben Griffin, Jesper Svensson. So I personally don't love comp courses this week. It's not something I want to rely too much on. So that's there for you though if you want. So high level look at the week. Hopefully this helps. And again, just to show you, if you want to add a stat. So if I wanted to just look at this, I'd hit total. I can make a note for myself if I wanted to, if you had a lot of filtering on it, just want to make a note for yourself. You hit add. Now it's going to show I have a bunch of other stats in here. If I go into create model, everything that I've done that I've hit add, it's going to go into this little section. And it's going to tell you, here's everything you have. You need to make it at least 100, obviously. And here's how you what I've done to weigh things. So I've manually inputted this. If I had nothing and I've done nothing, I've just added stats, it'll be 0. And you'll need to go ahead and assign the weights. If you ever want to know specifically what it is, what other filters you had, this would be the note section that I would have left myself. But if I go into this little button here, it would tell me the time frame, any filtering that I had on it. So this is distance from the edge of the fairway, last 50 rounds, as far back as 18 months. If I want to look at, say, so this is strokes gained around the green, Bermuda, last 3 years. So this is an old model for me. I'm going to pull this out because it's not really around the green Bermuda anymore. I have some stuff here with comp courses. I kind of want to pull that out and kind of run a new model and go from there. So simply just pulled my model forward from previous years that I had here, my older PGA National model, and it's just not relevant anymore. We have 2 years of data showing us that it just doesn't matter. So that'd be how you do it. It would save any of your old models down here too. So like you see, I have models from, very long time ago. This is what I'm talking about. You hit this copy button. You can copy old models from previous years. You say, hey, I really like the model that I built last year for, such and such course. I'm going to pull it forward, see if I need to make any tweaks, hit that copy button, and it'll do that for you. So pretty straightforward. So hopefully that helps. Appreciate everyone hanging out with me as always. Again, Betsperts Golf on YouTube, Betsperts Golf wherever you listen to podcasts. If you were not a subscriber, BSG26, fantastic deal. Again, 25% off any subscription for a new user. If you are a returning user and you're looking to get back in, maybe you left, you want to flirt with someone else, you realized grass isn't always greener on the other side, you want to come back, hit me up, and I will make sure I get you a promo code to get you started for a cheaper month, or we could figure it out from there. So appreciate you all as always. Relieved to not have to make a Scottie shuffler decision, either betting on Scottie or without markets. We got a bye week from Scottie until we got to make Bay Hill and Sawgrass decisions on Scottie, because of course he's played pretty well in the past and have won a couple of times. So good times coming. But this week, wide open board and wide open PGA National. So again, appreciate your time as always. Best of luck. Let's win some money.